At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Anthony C. hosting. This is Focus on Liberia Friday night debate. Welcome to Friday night debate here at Focus on Liberia. In today's edition of Focus on Liberia Friday night debate, we are debating the issue of the question, Weah, Cummings and Fyneah, that is Benjamin Kofa Fyneah, who is a non-factor in elections 2023. For your information, Benjamin Kofa Fyneah, the gentleman you see right here, seated comfortably, is a 2023 presidential aspirant for the upcoming election. He has said that President George Weah is a non-factor in the upcoming election. To the presidential aspirant, Alexander Benedict Cummings, has 60% chance of winning. So Kofa is on Cummings' back to knock him off, take that space, because Cummings does not have what it takes to maximize that particular 60% chance he has to reach to the political promised land. He's on his mission. So we are here in this debate, whether, according to him, that it is mathematically impossible for President George Weah to win, and that he is a non-factor, whether or not Benjamin Kofa Fyneah is telling the truth mathematically. To do all this, we have gentlemen who are well-versed with political issues in Liberia seated. Number one, we have the man, Blow J Nation, or Choppy Charlie. He is from the CDC. At this time, I will welcome Choppy Charlie to Focus on Liberia Friday night debate. Choppy, welcome. It's good to have you.
Always good to be here. Thanks so much for having me, and also the folks on the opposite side.
All right, folks. Choppy Charlie is a seditious, and he is a supporter of President George Weah. Also seated and ready to roll is a supporter of Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings, and he is from this ANC. Bear with me here. Technology is trying to trick me. I don't know why. Let me do this. All right, here we go. Jennington Dolake. He is a member of the ANC and a supporter of Alexander Benedict Cummings. He's here. Mr. Dolake, it's good to have you. Welcome to Focus on Liberia Friday night debate.
Thanks so very kind. It's here, and thanks to all of our colleagues who are on this platform.
We also have an independent mind. I like this guy, folks. I don't know why. I will find that reason for you someday. Perfect manager Maurice Kroma is an independent. He is an unquestionable independent, by the way. It's good to have you. He's the guy who's going to be in the middle while these political actors are doing their political thing. He has a free thinker and independent mind. Will try to punch holes in their argument. It's good to have you, Maurice.
Thank you, Asani, for having me again, man. It's good to see my friend Choppy and the great Dolake on the same platform with me. The presidential aspirant and my former friend, man, him and Weah and Cummings, they are buddies now. So, we have to distance ourselves more from them. But it's good to be here, man. I'm happy.
All right. And folks, bear with me that I'm not in my studio. I'm on a duty here in West Palm Beach, Florida, where the Grand Bassa Association in America is having a symposium, trying to look at Liberia Bass Centennial, 200 years of existence. But let's get to business here. Benjamin Kofa Fyneah is saying something big, which constitutes, this debate that Weah, Cummings, and Fyneah, that's the question we're asking. Who is a non-factor in election 2023? So we will get started here in no time. After this very short break, we will be going into the debate. If you are just joining us, of course, this is Focus on Liberia Friday Night Debate. We'll be right back to get started, folks. Stay tuned.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And so this year hosting, we will go into it right away. Gentlemen, we will start with Benjamin Fyneah. And Mr. Fyneah, in this introductory aspect of the debate, you're going to make your case, and you will have 3 minutes to tell us why you think it is mathematically impossible for President George Weah to win. You're going to use that 3 minutes to also tell us why you think George Weah is not a factor. You have 3 minutes to make that case. Thank you.
Well, first thing I want to say, I think you missed me during the introduction, so you got to add a little time. I want to say hello to everybody hearing the sound of my voice, every Liberian. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's always great to be here. I really like interactions with Liberian, especially so concerning everything Liberia. That being said, let's go into the matters at hand. The first thing I said, you have to look at the numbers. Whether you live in China, whether you live in Mongolia, in Sweden, Germany, 1 + 1 will always be equal to 2. You know, I base my my analysis on the next number. I'm saying statistical data from the National Election Commissioner of Liberia. First thing first, I think just before the start of the show, we talked in the background. The highest block of people who vote in Liberia, they are between the age of 18 to 24 years old, and they constitute 45% of people. 45%. Let me tell you why that is key. In 2005, George Weah was an unknown. It's almost when you have a math equation, you know, X + Y is equals to 4. In 2011, George Weah could continue to be that unknown. X + Y is equals to 4. Nobody knew what X was. Nobody knew what Y was. But in 2017, George Weah won an election. We knew that now X is equals to 1. So 1 plus, X equals to 2. So 2 + 2 gave us 4. What has happened since 2018? Liberia has experienced George Weah. So let's go back to 2005. In 2005, the case was Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was perceived, perception to be a better manager than George Weah. I can publicly submit to anybody that election, both rounds, George Weah won it. But people with interest in Liberia, as well as some Liberians, they thought at the time that, oh, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf with her so-called experience at the World Bank and whatever she worked, they thought she would have managed Liberia with good hands. That's why she was allowed to lead. And now let's come to the next election. The same thing. Liberians has experienced George Weah. Is unfortunate. This administration has failed in terms of crisis management. It's almost like sometimes they do what you call forced errors. They have been like negligent and being very slow to react. 16 billion, 24 million, murder of auditors. What I'm saying here is these were issues that cropped up, but the administration failed to react in a timely manner and give explanation. Let me just say one thing. When those
and very quickly, can you do
one last thing.
Can you do a list of at least 3-4 I mean, as many
Yes.
as it would be
I mean,
necessary.
when those guys died, right?
Right. Mhm.
In any state, it is called what you call a major crime. Government invests all their resources to what you restore public confidence. But up to now, you and I, all of us on this show, we don't know actually what happened to those guys. So what happened right now, going into the next election, right? Now the perception would be, I mean, the ANC head is a more competent manager in the space that he worked at. I mean, Coca-Cola, he ascended, I mean, to the top. So the view would be he can better manage Liberia. I am here tonight to say no, he will not, because some of his actions have caused me to believe that he's incompetent and he has no I mean, political knowledge or experience. And I am experienced. I mean, politically, I have the knowledge, I have the wherewithal, and I have the mindset of an innovator to lead Liberia.
And then just for clarity, you said mathematically it's not impossible for Weah to win.
Yes.
And just want to get clearly by you giving us a list, what are the reasons why mathematically it's impossible for him to win?
I think I said that earlier on. The
I know,
highest
but
percentage of the votes in Liberia.
Is it for corruption? Why?
Yeah, no, no, it's just how we vote in Liberia. The highest percentage of the vote in Liberia is in an age block. And that age block, their peers have experienced George Weah. And I'm telling you, from 2018 up to now, Liberia has been on a downward hill. You see, those who vote for George Weah, they constitute less than 10% of the vote based on their age. And if you look at how how the road span out, where the largest chunk of the vote come from, it's impossible for George Weah to win, because those who constitute that huge block, they are not voting for George Weah.
Thank you.
I can say that clear to you, because what happened? Look at all the last by-elections. Look at all the last by-elections.
Thank you, Ben.
George Weah have not won. I mean, George Weah have won maybe one or two.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. So, folks, you heard it there. Benjamin Fyneah making his case why he thinks it is mathematically impossible for President George Weah to win, and that Cummings though has 60%, but does not have what it takes to be able to, go through with that 60%, and that he has it. We will now come to the other debaters. And Ben, sorry, by the way, for not including you in the introduction, was just an oversight. Let's come to Mr. Choppy Charlie from the CDC, because the main debate here, or argument from Ben here, is against President Weah, that he's a non-factor and he doesn't have the math on his side. So let's hear from you. What's your reaction?
I think Ben's argument is a little bit disconcerting for himself, because he's talking about the math, and he's looking at the past elections registered voters. That's one problem, because the registered voter itself is not a true reflection of the actual vote that was cast on election day. So when you see the registered voter, you will notice that there is a drop, a huge percentage drop in the people who actually vote on election day. So that's one problem.
Yeah, 38%, have been consistent for the most part. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's a huge drop. That's quarter percent of the vote. Now, the second thing is that he has to look at the political actors that's competing in the race for the presidency, and then he also have to look at what step has this government taken when it came to power versus how they met the countries. Because governance cannot be evaluated in a vacuum. You have to do comparison. We've made this point repeatedly. You cannot just grade somebody on their own. You have to grade that person by something. So what are you grading George Weah by? You can only grade George Weah by the past. And if you actually grade Weah by the past, you will see that there is an improved governance in the country. And so that improvement has to be credited to Mr. Weah. And on that basis, you will see Mr. Weah will be flying high in these elections. Talking about Mr. Cummings, yesterday I had a chance to watch Mr. Cummings on your show, on the network. I've been really watching him in full view, and I saw Mr. Cummings critique himself, which was kind of a little bit confusing. And Ben is saying that he's so prepared. But Cummings, when asked about his vice presidential choice, he critiqued himself. He said he had to find somebody very different from him, not like him, because he has some limitations politically, and he didn't see himself as being able to connect with ordinary people. I thought that was very powerful. And so if Cummings himself is saying that he doesn't have the political weight to move the vote, inspire popular appeal, I don't know how Ben is saying that he has 60% chance of winning these elections. It just doesn't square with reality here.
And then finally, on Ben himself saying that he has what it takes to make it happen.
Well, it's always good for us to have our own imagination. The fact that Ben should have been in Liberia now making his claim, then I will be strengthened. Mm-hmm. But I like the passion, I like the zeal, I like the zest. So it's good for discussion. We need someone like Ben provoking these conversations. So it's a good thing. I give him props for that.
Thank you. Welcome to Jonathan. You're listening to Ben. No, Ben, you got to be patient here.
No, Anthony, can I react to what he said?
No. All your colleagues have to speak first, Ben. Please stop that. Wait for your time, please. Yeah, Jonathan, please go ahead. Your term. He's saying Cummings has 60%, but he doesn't know what to do. 60% chance, but he doesn't know, what to do with it. And Weah is a non-factor. Mathematically, it's not possible for him to win, and he has it. Respond to the three, please.
Firstly, I appreciate him for the equation that he may have provided. I wish it would be divinity and we will succeed in getting that mark. We are working tirelessly. Taking every actor very serious in the process, and we consider ourselves the underdog. So we would not want to praise ourselves or mark ourselves.
Are you disagreeing with Ben on his 60% in your favor?
No, to go even beyond 50%, we have to put ourselves to the underdog level so that we know that we are fighting an uphill battle.
Okay.
But let me also say for Ben to say that Mr. Cummings does not understand or has a political will. An individual who came to the electoral process in a traditional politicking with just 18 months, collecting a whooping 50,000 voting men surrounding coming term on traditional political parties is a signal. I think Mr. Cummings has been the lone, and I yet to see somebody to debate that, the lone political advocate in the political sphere of Liberia since 2018. He had kept the engagement. He got the mark of identity in terms of the struggle. He had been accused of nearly everything. And so we will keep fighting until we reach the finish line. I also want to say that Mr. Cummings did not critique himself as part of the conversation. From a baseless concept, Mr. Cummings was realistic. He was human to say that the qualities that he have, he will be looking for another person with additional different qualities so that that person can be able to partner with him in executing the function of the president and the vice president. And that is why he's seeking that people would make that intervention and scout. Our team is already doing that work to scout so that he can make the nomination for the listing based on the criteria. So, Ben, we consider you as a major fighter. We consider Ambassador Bwaka as a major fighter. We consider Councillor Gonglo as a major fighter. President Weah is a major fighter because he has all of the resources of the country. He has plundered most of it. We understand 3 boys are still missing. Probably it will be at the National Debate Forum that the president will provide that. That have been over more than a year ago. Those boys' lives matter in this country that we live. Every lives matter. We understand that the Grandidian logistician for the National Elections Commission are gone missing. Up to now, there is no record to that. We are not talking about the auditors. We are not talking about people who are gruesomely killed and allegation that hangs around the former Solicitor General. We are talking about just death. So we have an arsenal that will release onto the general public through voter education, every news corner of Liberia, to let them know that indeed President Weah has also his responsibility. Though we have many persons who are well qualified, but one among them is Mr. Ellis Cummings, who comes from the private sector and can bring investment and
And Jonathan, I want you to end with Ben saying that, I know he said that he's a factor. That's why you said, I don't know if you actually Ben that, but I will give you the opportunity to conclude whether or not Ben has what it takes to win it. That's why he claims.
No, Ben is making his case, and we respect him for that. I hope along the way, Ben can see reason to join us, and we can forge a stronger team together. In the instant case that he cannot join us, we wish him well. I mean, he has to make a case, but we will not underestimate anybody in the process.
Thank you.
We know that we are going to win, and so we're going to fight to the air limit.
Well, it's now time for the perfect manager, the unquestionable independent here. Morris, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, Asani, thanks for the opportunity again. I'm listening to my brothers here, and I'm wondering, I'm shaking my head first hearing some of the things that Ben was saying, and clearly, my brother Ben is out of touch with the political system in the country. I must, start off the gate by saying that he's out of touch, just by attributing 60% to Mr. Cummings. Clearly demonstrates that you don't understand the politics of the country. When you do a profile of all of the political actors that are in the country that are aspiring for the presidency, 60% is a huge number to just attribute to one candidate at this particular point in time. It's unrealistic. It's a phantom of your dream to even think that that Cummings is around 60%. When you have George Weah, who has a celebrity name status in the country, and it's unarguable that George Weah has been the most popular Liberian in the country since time. It's true that Weah has plundered the country resources. He has demonstrated clear incompetence. No argument about that. But you have to take into consideration that he's the president. He has the state resources at his advantage. He's appointing superintendents and chiefs and paramount chiefs, and all of these have a direct relationship to how people vote. People don't just, the 18 and 24-year-old argument you're making is also, it's you're taking one statistic and keeping it as an isolated case when actually there are several other dimensions in that same category of 18 to 24-year-old that vote. 18 and 24-year-old vote on ethnicity. They vote on religious alliances. They vote on loyalty. They vote on people who have some economic influence over them. You can't just take a number and just attribute it to a whole group of people. You have to do a whole profile of other things that you put into context with the voting behavior. So I was listening to you and I was thinking, I said, well, I don't know where this guy is coming from. Maybe he needs to provide more clarity for me to be able to understand. And just the fact that you want to be president of Liberia, you are aspiring for the presidency, I would think that actually you have a better analysis of the political system before you come on a platform to talk about some of these issues that you're talking about. On the issue of my man Charlie, and how he presents the argument that there's improved governance system in the country. I also differ with that. I think we are is a colossal failure. He's one of the worst president Liberia has ever experienced by far. He had the best opportunity to fix the country when he got elected. Very popular. Most people consider him very neutral in the grand scheme of the conflict and all that kind of things. So most people was really hoping that Weah will come to this thing and he will bring very competent Liberians that would drive the change that Liberians are dying for. Simple things like having people accountable. In the previous administration, Weah couldn't do it. People demonstrated in the street to say, where is our $25 million? Weah couldn't take an action. People died in the country. Weah didn't take any action. There were clear evidence of corruption. The LSCC and all these internal audit agencies provided report to the president. Here are evidence of people being corrupt. please prosecute these people. Still, the president did not take any action. So I don't know when you talk about, improved governance system. I'm really, trying to understand that.
Thank you.
Even some of the laws that we have passed under his administration, whether it's the Local Government Act, it's the new LCC Act, they were all 40 legal system that was sent to the House. Then they started this whole Bali Island thing about, how you build on the wetland. The whole concept of building on the wetland is even preposterous. But I will leave that to you all who think that it is good governance for the country. Because eventually we'll see that happening very, very soon, how the effect of bad leadership is causing us to get poorer and get more dangerous as a society.
Thank you, Maurice. And folks, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia Friday Night Debate. Anthony is here hosting. Then I'll come back to you for your clarity. I'll give you a chance. Hold on, Ben. Hold your peace. All right. We need clarity. In our past elections, no one has ever earned 48% in the first round in the first place. So this 60% chance you're giving Cummings, is it in the first round or is it in the second round? I want you to provide clarity on that. How did you arrive at that percentage? Well, did you look at all the demographics? Did you look at all the political variables to arrive at that number? And I want clarity also on your statement that President Weah is a non-factor.
Anthony, you see, the first thing is I'll respond to Maurice first. You see, the thing is, I will wish when we talk on this show, we come from a perspective, not assumptions. You see, I am not looking at what somebody think. Numbers don't lie. 1 + 1 will always be equals 2. Maurice, let me respond to you first. In 2005, in 2011, George Weah had a celebrity. He was unknown. When Weah won the election, Liberia had experienced Weah. That luster, that gloss is gone. It's gone. There is no motion. I'm telling you, let me tell you why. You talk about the state resources. Thomas Fyneah outspent George Weah maybe 10-1. Thomas Fyneah outspent George Weah 10-1. And
Dillon
10-1. But Dillon won that election 2-1. Dillon won with the highest vote ever, 240,000 against 160,000. What I'm telling you here is the government, because of their performance, their literally incompetence, has generated sufficient public sentiment that is negative, overly negative. Let me tell you this. This is the first time in our history you have a ruling party that cannot field a candidate under their own banner. They are bragging about hosting independent candidates. That means the brand is tarnished.
Ben, you're making a good point there, but how does that equate? Hold on, Ben. How does that equate to a 60%
talk about
for
registered
when
voters?
You have
what I gave you? No, hold on.
What
I gave you? The sound is a little bit low. What I gave you was the election result. I didn't give you registered voters. I gave you the demographics of the results. I'm not talking about the vote. The registered voters. I will tell you this, based on the numbers from NEC, statistically, when you look at the age group, the people in the CDC, I'm talking about the results of the election. I made some adjustment, plus maybe for population growth. But what I'm telling you is, if you look at the numbers, the people that constitute the
Ben, are you hearing me?
They amount to literally 15% of the vote. 15. Ben. That's what they amount to. And because of the huge negative sentiment against this government, it will be literally like a wave. I will tell you this. It's not because Cummings is doing anything. Similarly, like Dillon. Dillon didn't do anything to win that election. Dillon begged Abacha for money, Musa ability for money. He was completely broke. But the negative public sentiment that built up against the government carried Dillon over. The same thing is happening today. The huge negative of this government will push somebody who is perceived to be a better manager over. I am here to stop that. I'm saying, no, He's not a better manager. I am.
So Ben, Ben, it seems to be you're not hearing me, and that is why using phone sometimes not
No,
best.
I mean you are kind of low.
Yeah, everybody hearing me very well. You're the only person having problem because you're using your cell phone instead of a computer. That's the problem, Ben. The question I'm asking you, and I have to give your friend chance here to speak. Now, you said all this Weah is biased in the negative public sentiments as against him. You know, it might be the reasonable argument, but how does that equate to 60% chance for Cummings when he is not the only person in the race?
Please repeat.
Ben, you need to leave and come right back. I don't have to be repeating myself in that manner, please.
Okay, please.
Yes, please leave. So let me fit there, and I will come to you. Blue Generation. Ben is saying this perception here is too strong against President Weah, giving poor governance, corruption, and the rest. So that is like a 50%, 60% chance for Cummings when you have Bwaka, when you have Tiawan who's making effort. And Weah is a celebrity. No matter what you think of this man, he's a celebrity. He has a followers. People, other candidates almost like wave the whole Southeast to the man. I'm not saying that he's going to sweep the Southeast because of that, but his people will always be a people. Our people vote, like that. We've seen the history. So please help me out here because I'm not getting it from Ben. How does a negative sentiment equate, all right, to a 60% chance for Cummings when he's not the only one? Because he's a better manager, as he's a perceived better manager. Why can't they perceive Waka to be a better manager? Why can't they perceive Cummings, or Gonglo to be a perceived or better manager? Please help me.
I think that's why I said from the beginning that his argument was disconcerting. And I think one of the things that Morris talked about when he was describing the characteristic of the voters, and people have not considered that. In fact, and I wanted to respond to the issue of the Dillon victory, that characterization of the voter. A lot of time people say there was a protest vote that made Dillon won the elections. I don't dismiss that factor. There is a segment of the vote against the CDC that was a protest vote, but a majority of the voters against Dillon was not a protest vote. These were pro-vote, not because there was something wrong with George Weah. They were not voting against Weah. They were voting for Dillon. And one of the major reasons we're talking about the characteristics of the Liberian voters. If you look in Maserati County, Maserati is part of the Bassa Belt. It's part of the Bassa Belt. If you even look at Dillon's defeat of Thomas Fyneah's own district, he has won that district with all stress many times. But Dillon was able to defeat him even in his own district where he even have his own university. There's one reason that caused that, the Bassa Belt. Thomas Fyneah district is in the Bassa Belt, the Nizo community. So the Bassa people felt that they wanted to vote for their own man because he already had a Gisi senator, one Gisi senator, or Sir Joseph. They cannot have a second Gisi senator. So there are different reasons, and people have not said these things. People have not calculated this factor. And I always hear people making this argument that it's an anti-George Weah vote. It was not an anti-George Weah vote. Yes, a small segment of the vote was against George Weah protest vote, but the majority of those people were they also were captive voters. They are in any election everywhere in the country. You have captive voters who you don't even have to appeal to. They might be linked to that person on tribe, on religion, on any other thing. They are just there. They are waiting for that moment to vote.
Choppy, I'm not sure of the Bassa Belt. Hold on, Choppy. I'm not sure of the Bassa Belt. This is not the long first time running. Previous election, his number was very, very insignificant. Don't you think it was more so that there was this,
no, okay,
political parties at the time, because ANC voters voted for Dillon, Unity Party voted for Dillon, Liberty Party voted for Dillon, all the parties voted for Dillon. That was the key. I don't think it was just because it was
great. And I'm going to go back. It's good you raised that point because I was definitely going to go there. Dillon has been running before. You got to understand, when people have been running for a long time, there's a level of sympathy, especially where there's clarification in the contest. At the initial stage when Dillon decided to run, at the time there was no clarification in the political space. We had just come out of the early elections. People were not thinking in a more considered to it. There were a lot of strong candidates in the race. This last election that Dillon won, the election was pretty much clear from the very beginning between the CDC and imagine the opposition was together, like you rightly said that. So there was a joint opposition. There also was splinter within the opposition. You didn't have strong opposition candidates contesting against each other. So when you have such a race where there's clarification and you have dueling competing forces, clear competing forces, people's choices are very limited. Limited choices, the voter, the segment of the voter will show more, it will be more pronounced as opposed to when you have more stronger candidates competing in the race. So the Basel Bill, again, I'm going to say that the Basel Bill played an important role in Darrell Dillon's victory. If anybody want to disagree with it, fine, they can disagree with that. But that's a strong vote base in Moserado County that prepared Darrell Dillon. He has been running before. He was never voted upon, and the people saw their own son running this time because people have voted for their own tribal men in the past. And they said, why should we not vote for our own tribal men this time around? And so Dillon won the first ballot, and then he won the second time in Moserado. So the Basel Bill played a strong role.
And Ben, let me come back to you before I go to Jonathan. You were making clarification that if you remember what you were saying, then you can go ahead. The question I was asking, how does this negative sentiment that you talk about that's against President Weah, it's a reasonable argument, right? Given all that's happening, right? But how can that only be in Cummings' favor 60% when there are other candidates? He's not the only one.
I just told you this, and I'll repeat. You see, my focus on this show tonight is to ensure what I predict rightfully based on the statistics doesn't materialize. Let me tell you this. Look at the election that George Weah won. The election that George Weah won, the last election George Weah won was a referendum on the Unity Party government. Liberians at the time, they said, we don't want UP no more. The Unity Party needs to go. At the end result of that, George Weah won literally 14 counties. 14 counties.
61%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 14 counties.
So that election was between two persons. So this 60% you're talking about, is it in the second round or is it in the first round?
Yes, in the second round. It was a referendum. Literally, they didn't want the Unity Party no more. This is what is going on, like I told you.
Coming 60%, will it be in the first round or the second round? There's a reason I'm asking that question.
It's if nothing is done to derail it like what I'm doing now, it will be in the first round. I can tell you why.
Please tell us why, Ben.
Yes, you see, there is a high negative against this administration. That's number one. Joe Walker is literally seen by some people as a spent force. He's spent. I mean, everybody knows that even if Joe Walker, I'm just saying something out of the way. Even if Joe Walker gets to win this election, he can't even complete the first term. So he's spent. This election,
even though the series of polls that have come out, even though not scientific, I don't want us to rely on it, point to something, right?
That's why you are saying, but
has done well compared to Cummings.
No, you see, you are talking about polls that are not scientific. I'm basing on empirical data, numbers that are scientific. So your result will not be accurate. I'm basing it on the neck numbers. That's more strength. Because it's not what the neck is saying. You are basing it on polls that are not scientific.
Thank you, Ben.
I'm looking at the numbers. Let me give you the last time. Look at the last by-election.
Yeah, 30 seconds, Ben.
Come on, wait.
Here.
30 seconds.
Look at the last by-election. If you look at the election at George, when this guy was talking about, Dillon.
Cummings Fyneah that Dillon won, right? Okay.
Yes, I know. If you look at the last election that George Weah won, right? We had technically at that time literally a CPP, because in round two, most of the same parties now that constituted the CPP, they were together. You know that, right? They were together. In the election that George Weah won, because
Weah was part of that, right? I was part of that because that was the opposition then, isn't it?
No. I'm saying when they went to round two, that was Walker, that was how do you call this guy, Bromsky. There was other people that merged together. They were even mad at Cummings for not going with them. What I'm saying is there was a split there were two camps. But look at the percentage of the votes.
Thank you, Ben.
I'm saying look at the percentage of the no. I want you guys to get this thing clear because these are statistical data. They are not what you feel. I understand people have emotional feelings to the thing, but the numbers don't lie. The number point to a huge negative for the government, a significant negative that cannot be overrating. That's what I said. It's not a factor. It's not a factor. There's no way you can win. There's no way.
And Morris, if I understood Ben, what he's saying here is that we are one with 61%, right? He's saying during the second round, that sentiment against the Unity parties was strong. So majority of the voters that wanted change at that time, change meant any other person other than the Unity party.
That's it.
Weah was the only candidate. So that want or need, that desire for change went to Joshua in net 65%. He said happened to Cummings. But so let me bring you in. Morris, do you have problem with that? Is Ben making sense or not?
Ben is still, and I'll repeat again, Ben is completely disconnected from the political system in the country. He keeps making this outrageous, outlandish argument that numbers don't lie, but he still don't understand the numbers. The same election you're talking about, 2017, President Weah won that election by 135,000 votes difference between Unity Party and CDC. Forget about your 14 county count. Forget about that a little bit. Just divorce yourself from it a little bit. The difference between Unity Party and CDC in 2017 second round was 135,000 votes. A small number in national elections.
135,000. It was. Yes. I think it was more than that.
It was more than that.
It was more than that.
We'll verify that, gentlemen.
Numbers don't lie. Let's go online right now. If you find a number that is higher than, if it's more than that, it will be 2,000.
Dennis, if you can, please give us that number if you can find it. Go ahead, Morris.
It will be if it's more than 137,000. Never ever invite me back on Focus on Liberia again. I'm saying this because numbers don't lie. That is the point. And Ben, who wants to be president, should have this information to his fingertip like this. It should be able to come out easily. The reason Dillon won, and I do agree with Chappie, is that there is significant portion of Bassa people in Moserado. We have to acknowledge that. There are several areas in Moserado County that you can look at and say, this is a Bassa community. This is a Bassa community. Plenty that are named after town chiefs and all that good stuff. So there are people, they are deeply connected in the county. But beyond that, just like you said, the Unity Party, Liberty Party, and all the people voted against CDC. So if you take the same national number from 2017, if you put them together against CDC, CDC would have not won the election. They wouldn't have won the election. But because in the second round of the election, the political leaders from ANC and Liberty Party did not take a firm position in the second round, some of the voters got confused. Some of them did not participate at all. And so that's the reason why you see Weah won the election, because some of them say, you know what, I'm not going to participate, because it became an emotional thing. And when people went to the Supreme Court and all that decision was made, people got a little antsy and they did not participate in the election at all. These are things that a presidential aspirant should have a good appreciation for. If you want to be president, you have to know these things. This is not something I'm making off my head because I'm sitting here and trying to impress anybody. You see what I'm saying, right? But you can't make Joe is 60% on Cummings like that in the first round of the elections. Mm-hmm. What is it that you're drinking, Ben? Tell me. Let me go try and see what it will work for me.
And Morris, let me
even President Weah, who is the president right now, will not get 45% easily.
Morris, let me give you your analytical cap a little more here.
Yeah,
you talk about the Bassa factor as one of the things that contributed to Dillon's victory. We can't dismiss this. People vote because of tribal connection, right? So Cummings, for who we know him to be, does that ethnic group he belongs to is huge enough to give him a significant number? I want you to think about that, and then let's look at Weah. we are on an ethnic group he comes from is not as huge as maybe the Bassa and the Peda speaking people, and yet he won. So is that giving some little bit of fuel to what Ben is saying here? That tribal thing may not matter a lot in an election where people actually need change?
No, it doesn't. Here's why, and I'll tell you why. Because for President Weah, he keeps saying that President Weah was the unknown. That is not true.
No, that is not true.
It's not true. President Weah was not the unknown in 2005. In fact, I stated my first response was that Weah is by far the most popular Liberian in the country.
How could he have campaigned for Weah that time? He said the man was
exactly.
No problem. This is unknown in terms of performance.
Please,
you should have qualified. But go ahead.
He said he was the unknown. So my assumption is that
performance.
Okay.
So let him learn. You clarify yourself now. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you say performance, then I'll give you that, because I mean nobody know who would be a better president if you don't give them the opportunity to be president, right? I mean, realistically, we don't know what a Cummings presidency would look like because he has never been president. We don't know what Joseph Baga presidency will look like because he has never been president, right? So we'll not know. So technically, if that is your argument, then that argument holds for everybody who has never been president besides President Weah. And that's a fair argument to make, to say none of these people have been president. So we can't say, because they are unknown, you can't take a 60% and just throw in the president because he said he worked at Coca-Cola. It's not Coca-Cola that elected.
No. I think you're getting me wrong. I'm not getting your comments here.
Ben, one at a time, please.
Let me get this straight.
When you have a chance to speak, Ben, please don't make a discussion chaotic.
Ben, you are speaking. I'll give you the chance. You have to give me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ben, please stop that.
So, I mean, if because the man work at Coca-Cola, so you think he's gonna get 60%?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, Chief. Okay, so go ahead, make your argument. I'll listen to you and then I'll speak.
No, but I wanted to come in. I thought it was my turn.
Ben, please. We want the discussion. You know, you've never been like this. I don't know what you're doing. You know,
no, because the guy don't understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying
your time to clarify. You jot it down, Ben. You know,
don't mind us here.
And let me come to you.
In politics, you are the presidential candidate, and the people looking at you.
Then,
so don't mind us.
Jonathan, let me come to you. Jonathan, and please clarify my observation here. It's like you are for Cummings, you are ANC man, and Ben is so generous with his numbers, and so you are like, well, Ben is a factor. And so let me push you back. Is Ben actually a factor as you try to tell us here? And if he is in your own judgment, tell us what are the things that made Ben to be a factor, a guy who has not visited Liberia in the past 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. Ben, you can correct me later on.
I will.
I said from the onset that we would not take anyone as unserious or give any feelings like somebody is less important in the political process. We are clear about that. In fact, we place ourselves in the position of the underdog. That's number one. So the difference between Ben contesting 2023 and Mr. Cummings.
Jonathan, don't forget that man is going independent. When was the last time independent presidential candidate won anything in Liberia?
That's why I'm going to.
Okay.
The difference between he and Mr. Cummings will be 18 months to election, and probably his is maybe less than 12 months to election. So he has a work to do, and that is why I said he needs to make his case. But the good thing about the number game that Blue Jay spoke to, he spoke and landed on frauds. His statistic is miscalculated, completely out of the theory. In fact, what Blue Jay did in his argument, he has proven that Mr. Cummings' assertion about stronghold is indeed stronger, that there is no issue of stronghold. The Liberian people will be in a stronghold. This is how I can prove it.
Go ahead.
Bronski contested 2 times in an election prior to 2017. And Bassa was a stronghold, and the sympathy he claimed that lay on the law, it means that Councillor Bronski would have come on 3rd or 2nd in Mesurado, unlike Cummings who came 18 months. and took a whooping 50,000 votes. That's one. Two, President Weah, the president of the nation, even in his polling room, he was massively defeated twice. That was not on the Bassam sentiment. It was because of the mismanagement. It was because of the insecurity. It was because of the perception of bad governance that have been set into motion. The issue of Ramsar that I put right in the chat room here, that Ramsar is a protocol meant to see about wetland and subsidize country that got wetland. And President Weah came vehemently that her Indian state would be in Bali Island, and he will compel it to be there against scientific proof, where you have to do observation and you have to assess the play and all those sort of things. So he set himself up badly. So we cannot trail on Basso. Seditions. I was the primary committee chair of the CPP. When I landed at the Unity Party, we saw seditions with a CDC ID cards displaying it. People were angry. So that was the basis. It was not necessarily because of Basso vote. Because if we say so, then why would Mr. Cummings tap Councillor Bronski in a crucial election in 2017 in Mesorado County coming third with a whooping 50,000 votes? So this clearly states that the election 2023 will not be tribal will play some part, but it will not be the core issue. The core issue will be what confronting Liberians today and who sits in the best position to solve the backwardness of Liberia problem. That will be the issue. If that's the issue, then I can say clearly, why can I admit to Fyneah whooping 60%, because we also put ourselves in the underdog position. If Pastor Fyneah ahead of some of us for the ANC or the CPP, but we can say on the basis of the issue, and if we can do our voter registration, voter education adequately, our constituent will be the Liberian for all walks of life. That is why President Weah, who comes from Grand Coup, a small trap that comes from Grand Coup, was able to win Ambassador Boakai because Unity Party are going 2 terms. They were bickering among themselves. There was disunity of action among themselves, disunity of thought. And so at the end of the day, anybody, especially President Weah, who have come second twice, could infiltrate the process. This is why we came with the formation of ANC, because we knew that the Unity Party would have had 2 terms. Thank you. Would not be led by Liberian people. We knew that CDC were unfit, so we call ourselves the alternative. And that is what we're about to execute 2023.
Thank you. And Ben,
if I can get a chance to chip in on this round too.
Yes. Let me go to Chappie before I come to you, Ben. So yeah, go ahead, Chappie.
Yeah, I think first we have to situate the discussion so that we can move on to other different issues. I've never said that tribal lacing was solely responsible for Darrell's Dillon victory. I did acknowledge that another factor was some people voted in protest, but I said that they were not voting against George Weah. We have to understand our reality. So there are different reasons why people vote in any given elections. Each elections have different variables that people use to vote. These variables are not independent. They doesn't go from election to election. So if we want to analyze why Bromson got less vote in Maserado, we can discuss the variable that play out in our elections. Those variables were not the same in the Darrell Dillon elections. These are different variables. So to use that standard to say that because Bromson came less, it means that Cummings has a chance, that's a myth. So I can only assure you, don't forget, George Weah also has a Basso relationship. He's Basso too. So, but I think to follow debate this will be more educating you guys how to develop your political strategy. So I would like to leave you in a misinformation gap. I would like to leave you in a miseducation gap and not try to challenge you more, so you can remain there and then keep measuring out your analysis on our way, and then we'll come and defeat you.
Ben, you have 1 minute, and then we'll take a break.
You see, the next issue. One thing I notice here, my brothers here are speaking mostly emotionally. Nobody's talking about numbers. Dillon campaign, they are talking about vote from Basso towns. No, There, when you go to, Bassa has less vote than Lofa County. There are more Loma people, Gisi people sprinkled over Monserrado County. It makes no logic. When we are speaking, let's speak on the numbers. The numbers don't lie, my brother. Grand Bassa County don't have more people than Lofa County. There's no way Bassa people can be so plentiful in Monserrado County that it will push Dillon over to win. I will tell you this, and I will continue to insist. Number one, Morris, this is not, I'm not backing for Alexander Cummings. My goal here is to make sure that Alexander Cummings don't achieve victory because he is not competent to lead Liberia. But public sentiment is holding him as the more competent manager as compared to George Weah. Because of George Weah's incompetence and failure, public perception, the negative of the government has risen so high, it will lead to a numerical advantage. That's what I'm saying. All I'm saying, Cummings doesn't have the capacity. Politically, he don't know how to run any state. He run a public company. So there are two different ball games. All I'm here to say, Liberians, this man that you are looking at, because you have this negative view of George Weah, he will not give you or lead you to where you're supposed to be. I have the political wherewithal to make it happen. But I'm telling you, brothers, there are huge negatives against this government that they cannot overcome. They cannot overcome that. Thank you.
Thank you. If you are just joining us, you are watching Focus on Liberia Friday Night Debate. I'm Anthony here hosting, and we want to say welcome. Gentlemen, we're going to take a short break. When we come right back, it seems to be...
I take a break before you call me. But anyway, go ahead.
All right, Maurice, quickly, we'll give you a minute.
I mean, I don't like the way my man Ben is going about this Cummings thing. Cummings won 112,000 votes in 2017. That's a huge number. 112,000 votes in 2017. He was the first time ever in the political space. You have to get to say that, he's incompetent. He doesn't know anything. And I am the one that's supposed to replace Cummings.
I'm saying politically, though. Politically.
How can a person who is politically ignorant get 112,000 votes?
That's what I'm telling you. Has the backing of the managerial title.
Stop this, man. Please. When you speak, you let others
speak. When you speak, I listen to you. Please, just give me a chance to speak. I'm begging you. Because the analysis has to be constructive in a way that people understand it. Your first allegation against Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in 1997 was that she didn't accumulate a lot of votes. And so in 2005, somehow she got some kind of international, influence that made her president of the country, and Weah got cheated.
International influence, no.
Okay. Whatever your allegation were for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in 2005, I'm using that same argument to come back to the point that Cummings,
what he said was
Ellen got in the election process is the very first time when nobody knew the name Alexander Cummings, never, ever, ever before. He came, he contested, and he was able to accumulate 112,000 votes. 112,000 votes, that's way beyond the votes that President Sirleaf accumulated in 1997 when he made the argument against her.
Thank you.
You see the point that I'm making, right? So
no, I don't see your point. No, I don't see your point is not reasonable.
I'm sure the rest of the people that are on the platform understand the point I'm making.
Thank you, Maurice.
And you make this argument about numbers, but you don't want to even accept and acknowledge the numbers.
And folks, thank you. We will come back after the short break. When we come back, it seems to me Ben is confusing us. He said Cummings has 60% chance of favorability just because George Weah is doing bad. So Cummings has that. But at the same time, he's saying Cummings does not have it politically to win despite of the 60% favorability. I'm confused. So this guy he's dismissing, who is poor politically, he doesn't have the political wherewithal, the political know-how. He netted 112,000 just his first time. He was more than unknown at the time. And 6 years later, almost 6 years later, he has been working. His name has been in political actors' mouth. And there's anybody who is spending money, Cummings is spending all the money. Is anybody who has been a little more visible in constituencies, right? It's Cummings. And Ben is saying all that is just for nothing. Is he confusing us here with his numbers and analysis? When we come right back, Ben will explain. And the other debaters will weigh in. A short break, and we'll be right back. Folks, we are back with you. A beautiful traditional, drum beat there from our motherland of Liberia. I hope you guys enjoy it. That is for Friday night debate. Gentlemen, let's come back to the issue. And Ben has been preaching numbers here. He has not given us sufficient numbers enough. So let's look at what he's saying. Ben, we'll give you the chance again before your colleagues can come in. You are saying Cummings does not have anything, something significant or anything significant, all right, to win, but then he has 60% favorability. He seems to be confusing us here. Then how is the guy who does not have it will be the one the Liberian people will favor, and you are saying just because he comes from Coca-Cola, because that's the only thing that you are pointing to here. You are muted, Ben. Oh, I think I'm mute. Okay, go ahead, not me.
Politics is a system. It requires understanding. What I was saying, Cummings doesn't have political education. Listen to me. I want to be clear here. In 2005,
what is political education? What is political education?
Listen, let me tell you this. In 2005, Ellen won that election because there was a public perception that she was a better manager than George Weah. The country just came from war, system broken down. We need somebody with international contact and experience to reconfigure or reset this country.
And who made that decision?
Listen to this. Fast forward to today.
That's a significant question. Who made that decision that she's a better manager at that time?
Listen,
the Liberian people.
Listen, significant amount of Liberians with stakeholders and international partners. Now, let me go to this election that is coming up. Okay. Look at Liberia from 2018 to the election of next year. There is a perception that systems are breaking down. Things are going disarray. We need a competent manager to restore the system, to rebuild it. I am saying here on this show, and I want you to understand me, Cummings doesn't have the political education, the political training to run a nation. He has managerial aspect, which is two different speeds. But because negative public sentiment is high against this government, it will be more, people will be more convinced to say, well, no matter what, he's more competent than George Weah. That is why I'm here today. Based on the statistical number that I have crunched, I said, no, I have to fight against that because I do not want Cummings to win this election, because that's what we are going to right now. So that's what I'm fighting against. And that's my premise. That's what I want you guys to understand. The number is in his favor. I can tell you that for free.
And so at the end of the day, Ben, I'm glad you said it, that the numbers are in his favor.
Yes.
And you are saying you're going to win, not coming off that favorability, spot he's in now. So you claiming that you have what it takes politically. How are you going to do it?
You see, Morris, who is my very good friend, he claims to be my old friend. So I will tell you this: Morris is a modern man. All of us on this show, to some extent, I was stunned. Morris is literally underappreciating the power, the potential of the internet. There are people in Liberia now watching us. There are people in Grand Bassa, the America, watching us. This thing has made the world a global village. People are listening to us. They are listening to the logic. They are listening to the things we say. They are listening to our vision every day. So, the message will be out there. We have reached sufficient amount of Liberians. We will go to Liberia at the end of next month, but we have conscientized a sufficient amount of people. Let me tell you this, Morris. Let me ask all of us here. Everybody on this stage, George Weah, Joe Walker, Cummings, are they the best we have to offer next year? We have 5.1 million plus Liberians. Are they the best option we have? We have to give our people options. That's what I'm saying. No, the election is going in this guy's favor, and he will not be politically a good leader. So I must knock him out of there. That's what I'm doing tonight. Thank you.
All right. This time I will go to Blowjay first. Choppy, I'm sure you are paying attention.
Sure.
It's been confusing us, or he has a point here.
Let me just dismiss this argument about competency that Ben is making. And I think this is one of the worst arguments that any politician in Liberia will make. That will be the first road of defeat. This claim about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf competency is already trashed. I do concede that the reason Ellen Johnson Sirleaf got elected was based on that perception of competence. But her 12-year governance showed failure, mass failure, that cancel all such an argument. And so I just wanted to take up to at least since Ben is talking about numbers, let's look at some reports here. Yeah. In 2008, after the so-called competent president took over, along with another failed bureaucrat, Joseph Boakai, they were in power, and the United Nations, it was the UN, the United Nations did a study with the Food Agriculture Organization, the UNDP, the UNICEF, World Food Program, UNME was in Liberia at the time, and all kinds of international organizations, along with the Ministry of Agriculture, Legis, and the Millennium Challenge, and other people. That, or the conclusion for those results, said that Liberia were poorer than when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf took office. It predicted more hardship on the country. One of the things that was happening during that period was the price of rice was increased at $15 for half bag of rice, a 50 kg bag, $31. And the World Food Program International Organization predicted more suffering in Liberia and more pain in the country. And truly, at the end of Ellen's tenure, we saw in 2017, another report was done, another research was done. We said that the country was left in deep economic freeze, struggling. So that's the competence that we have for 12 years, leaving the country, came to power, increased suffering, and left the people in more suffering.
Well, Choppy, he's talking about perception. You are speaking reality. Choppy, let me jump in here.
There's a report. I didn't do the report. There's an international report. I'm quoting you. It was done by all of the people who sent money to Liberia. I didn't do that report.
Choppy, are you getting me?
Yeah.
I'm saying the emphasis here is on perception. What the people feeling. He's saying that's how they felt at the time, that Ellen was a much better manager compared to, it was not, reality, because you are proving it. I mean, disproving that with the numbers, that you can look at it data and say Ellen was a much competent or manager, right? But he's saying that's how they felt at the time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. His argument
now in Cummings' favor.
Yeah, his argument, I'm saying that his argument is falling flat on his face, because the people now understand that first we had a public, a government bureaucrat, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Now you bring in us another corporate bureaucrat with the same notion of competence. And I'm saying to you, given the fact, the perception was there for at least inception of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, but that perception failed with reality. So we now know that the perception of competence does not equal to good governance. So for Cummings to come,
are you saying that people have experience?
Yes.
A perceived person, all right, or one who are perceived to be competent came to power
and failed.
That person was elected, but then that person failed them, so they cannot be fooled this time with any.
Exactly. So a corporate bureaucrat cannot come with that perception of competence, because the people have a factual experience, a living experience.
And so, Choppy, let me hold you there. If you look at the Weah administration and the Ellen administration, in terms of living standard, in terms of prices, transportation, and all of that, don't you think the people are inclined to know that though we felt that, later on in early administration that she did not do well, few years, 5 years later, we can now see that she did better in the first place than we are. So since we felt better on her, we can go with somebody like her, woman like the B. Cummings or somebody else.
No. Again, we have to come to these variables that have to play out in a country, right? Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf had international cushion. She was on international welfare,
right,
for 12 years, right? So the social cushion I was given by foreign governments, you have, because the country itself came from war, so everybody felt sympathy for the country. Everybody felt this country needed help, so they gave all of those help to the country, because the perception again was that we had this so-called competent person, so let's give all the money, let's give all the resources, let's give everything to them so that they can make the country better. So even with all of the resources that was given to Ellen and everything, that competence failed. Because we don't have that kind of support, because the time has expired. International welfare is not going to last forever. After 2 elections, it was very clear. The international people said, after 2 elections, we believe Liberia can stand on your own. Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf left a big mess, a big valley of poverty.
All right.
This poverty valley is what Georgia is trying to fill up. It's not an easy task.
Thank you. Chappie, you land?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Morris, I know you tested right there to come.
Yeah. I'm really, I'm sitting here listening to the 2 minutes. I'm saying to myself, like, you cannot be serious about it. Talking a day.
I hope that little affinity you have.
Jonathan, so Jonathan won't speak. Let me get Jonathan, go ahead. I'll come back because I gotta speak to these things that Chappie and Ben talking about.
See, we have to be serious. Even if we tend to be, I know, some of those comedian and play fun at times. This is about our country. We have to be serious-minded. We have to be thinking, and we have to put thought into it. Because this Facebook thing is good. People view you, but it's history. 8 years from now, when you see yourself talking these things that you're talking, you will regret. But let me go to my brother Ben Fyneah. He claims that Ellis Cummings has 60%. As a political person who been in this political business for some time, I would believe his 60% is defined as people who are attracted to Cummings' message, his style of governance, his decision making, and that is why he graded Mr. Cummings at 60%. No. Mr. Cummings is not imbued passion for people to like it and see a shoe and like it. It should be based on the idea that he put it forth. Those are the things that people get attracted to you, from whence you draw your clue that this person could be getting 60%, except he has another indicator. He will define that indicator. Another thing that he said, and then it comes about to talk about qualification to discount Mr. Cummings. You are not in qualification. What the people draw as a clue for voting, it is not just about qualification. It is about interpersonal interaction. It is about winning hearts and minds. It is about what in that message for them. So those are the indicators that the people attract to you based on. He also mentioned that whether we are thinking that under Mr. Cummings, Ambassador Boakai, and Councillor Gonglo are in the process. The last time I checked, you say he left Liberia since 2018. No one stop you. The advocates have been there. You should have built up a constituent. These are individuals who have been in the vineyard, all crying the dreadfulness of the CDC government. And let me go to the issue of corporate. The modern world that we live in, to move the engine of any country is the corporate ability. In the America you are right now, it is because the corporate ability is viable. The strength of the corporate world is viable. So if someone comes from the corporate world, knows how to negotiate on behalf of corporate people, it means that the sanction that Maggie and others are going through, because they are bastardizing concession, that will not happen, because you will protect those people who are coming as well as protect the Liberian law. That is the value that it brings to the process. But let me go to Blodje, who spoke of Madam Sirleaf, and I'll leave her a comment. But you know, when you come into the conversation, you come with some apportionment of the development package of our country is disingenuous. Madam Sirleaf has her own odds with some of the issue. That we can speak to it. But in fairness, this Madam Sadi conducted census 2008. You have gone more than 4 years. You have stolen all of the money. You killed people. 3 of the officials have been sanctioned. Up to now, the president cannot point at the investigative committee. This Madam Salivia did the debt relief.
Jonathan, let me hold you. Let me hold you there. Kill people?
Yeah,
Huh?
kill people now.
Kill
Kill
people?
people now.
Yeah,
What?
kill people. What is the proof?
Yeah.
You said what?
You said kill people. What is the proof?
You asked me for the proof?
Yes, I am
Cochran
asking
is
you for the proof.
Ellen Cochran is the proof. Ellen Cochran said that
Mhm.
there have been ritualistic killing in the country involving the Solicitor General. I've said it on the Ilabira. Those are legal bases that we have. The president has said that we should have CCTV. He's demonstrated that he's an accomplice to ritualistic killing and wanton killing in our country. How in a country that we don't have current, we can have CCTV? It makes any sense? So what I want to end on is that President Taylor, when the election was conducted to 1997, there was an understanding that the security sector should be reformed. President Taylor vehemently resisted the security sector being reformed. And that point goes to Blodgett Nation because President Taylor was trying to protect himself. If Madame Salif, with all of her odds, with all of her challenges, with all of her slight peccadillos, had not have the political courage and brought on board men who were astute to take on the responsibility, some of what you saw in the country wouldn't have happened. That is why under President Weah, he will sack his ambassador to the United Nations few days to his departure, and then you have the protocol affair hanging backpack in front of her, and if to say she's going to September school. This is it's uncalled for, and we need to speak to it. We need to know that this country belongs to all of us. Where wrongs are going in the wrong direction, we should speak to it. President Weah has been very inept. He has outsourced his responsibility, and there can be no spinning.
Thank you. Boris, your turn.
So, I mein, Jonathan, you made my night. I just, just by, the exuberance in your voice have got me excited, man. I think it's a complete disservice for my man Blodgett Nation to make this outlandish accusation against the Unity Party government. I mean, let's admit you're in opposition. That's okay, but if we come to this kind of platform to talk about policy issues, let's stay honest about the issues.
Yeah.
The Weah administration is the worst thing that ever happened to Liberia. By all measure, I'm ready for you and I to go into debate. Anytime Focus on Liberia ready for it, let's talk about Unity Party performance versus EC performance. Let's do it. At any moment, I'm ready for it. Because
that will be good. That will be good.
Like Ben always say, data don't lie. We can talk about 2005 when President Salif took over the country. In 2017, when she turned the country over to President Weah. The first 6 months of the Weah administration, the allegation of corruption landed. First 6 months, 25 million allegation over printed money. I mean, you can't go any wrong with that. People ran in the street, demonstrated for this president to take some action. Nothing happened. And you here telling us about President Salif left a failed government? When President Salif left the country at the Central Bank of Liberia, do you know how much money was left at the Central Bank of Liberia that you guys have ruined? Not because we're not talking plenty and we're staying quiet because we want to keep the maturity that we have. This is disingenuous. We shouldn't even be having this conversation. No sedition should even talk about failure of government. The morality for you to even come on a platform to talk about failure of government, it shows that you guys are not serious. You guys are not serious. Because I'm begging you, Chief, please give me some time to deal with this thing here. This is a serious issue we're talking here. Begging you, Chief, please. Because I really want Chappie and Ben to understand. Because I know Ben and I used to
debate. Already threw a challenge for a debate and Focus on Liberia is organizing it right now.
Very good.
So
awesome.
maybe you should,
I'll keep my bullets for that moment. I'll keep my bullets for that one there. Because I'm really eager to have a conversation about this President Salif and CDC administration thing. 5 years of administration. The failure of 5 years of administration, you can take all President Salif failure and put it together. It will still not even match your 5 years of what you've done. Just take all the corruption money that we put it together. That President Salif 2 a year budget that you're talking about over there. So That's how much money you guys have stolen in the CDC administration. And you want to talk about governance? I mean, President Salif, like my man, Dolake said, President Salif had her issues. Me, I can sit down here and tell you, yes, there were some issues in government. President Salif didn't do well with reconciliation. There was serious allegation of corruption President Salif did not address. I can say those things. But for a sedition to talk about governance issue in Liberia, you don't have the moral rectitude. Neither you, Ben. None of you have that moral rectitude to talk about what wrong with President Salif administration.
Gentlemen,
Anthony, can I come in, please?
You, Ben, in fact, have not even acknowledged that you contributed to the country going backward for the past 5 years. Because you contributed to Weah elections, and you have not even acknowledged that something you did wrong. And you seek our apologize. Just tell us publicly, my people, I'm sorry for leading you this route. You haven't even done that. You haven't owned up to it. And you guys want to talk about corruption in President Salif? Stop, man. Please. This is
Thank you, Morris. Thank you. And we will come to the final segment here. And Ben, I'll give you, you can use some of your time to respond. Ben, what we want to do now in the final segment, what makes you better than Cummings, Boaka, and Gonglo? That's the question we want you to answer, because you said people through the internet listening. Go ahead.
Okay, first thing I want to say, Morris and Mr. Dolake, all of the guys on this show tonight, they reinforce my point. Morris just talked about how we can't even make comparative analysis. Morris talked about the monstrous failure, but Morris is then not even acknowledging that there would be a huge negative perception. Morris expects that same government to win. After Morris telling her that you can't even compare night and day. What I'm trying to say, don't look at this for you. The CDC, their performance has done the work of the opposition. They don't need to do nothing. They don't need to do nothing. The CDC performance has built a wave against them. So Cummings have not talked about policies, no published agenda, no programs, nothing. But it is the perception that he's a better manager than George Weah. And that is what we swayed it. And that's what I'm basing my argument on.
Cummings now has his website. Mr. Cummings' plans are there. That is his plans according to him and his team. You need to go and read that, right? So to say that he has the...
No, I've gone to that website. I've gone to that website and it's all blurbs. What I'm saying is the opposition in Liberia, I just told you guys, I want this thing to be clear on this show. Dillon was outspent maybe 10-1. Dillon had no resources, begging Abachi, everybody for money. But look at the percentage of the vote. It was a protest vote. This election will be a referendum on the government. It will literally be a protest. It's not who is on the other side. The people are angry with the government.
The question now is, how come you have it? Why will you do better than Cummings, than Gonglo, and Boaka? Why would Liberian people look your way when they don't even know you in Liberia?
Okay. First thing I want to say, Cummings, the thing that is critical to my heart is the TRC report. They asked him, what is he going to do? He said he's going to set up another commission. We had a TRC report that, the International Friends of Liberia invested millions of dollars in. That report made recommendations. It's a complete document. It's even a law. It's called a TRC Act. Cummings said he would found another commission to implement that report. No, I will implement the TRC report to the letter, even if my brother was recommended in that report to be held accountable, he will be. Because I will tell you this, we are here today. I am here today because of the war in Liberia. So those who lost their lives, we owe them a responsibility to ensure that those who wronged them are held accountable. He was not able to say that he would enforce the TRC report. He said he would find something else. The two things for him, Cummings doesn't have political education. He has none. A manager is different from a politician. Let me give you this. There are 5 distinctions between a manager and a political leader. Let me read them out to you. A leader he creates a vision. A manager executes that vision. A leader creates change. A manager reacts to change. A leader is people focused. A manager is structure focused. A leader seeks feedback. A manager minimizes weaknesses. A leader leads people, and a manager manages work. There's a huge difference there. A political leader is not the same as a manager. They're two different worlds. Now, let me go to the next guy. Weah, I would say with all due respect, Weah has had his time. He had his bite at the apple. I would say maybe multiple times. Weah been in government since William R. Talbot. Since William R. Talbot, we will even tell Weah, please retire. That job is onerous. It requires people who are healthy and mentally alert. Sorry, but Weah has passed his time in terms of his age. So we would tell him to retire and let younger person from the Unity Party, maybe my good friend Morris, take up the helm. We want new blood. Liberia need new vision, people with innovation.
And so why if Weah decides not to retire? That means
then what we would do,
because you are begging him. No, this is a competition and you are begging?
No. What I'm saying is we would do it out of respect. When you don't go out of respect, then we use processes. So right now we say, oh, you have served Liberia from Talbot time up to now. We believe it is high time you retire.
Morris, what will you do to move the numbers that will get you to win, that Cummings will not be able to do, Gonglo will not be able to do, Weah will not be able to do, and Weah will not be able to do?
Yes, the first thing is my vision for Liberia and my messaging to Liberians. The first thing, Liberians listen to me. I go on many shows, they listen to me. You have to be an innovator. You see a lot of Liberians today, especially so in Liberia.
How many radio stations have you gone to then?
I've been on Radio Bong. I've been on this guy's show. What's the name of this guy?
You don't even remind me.
No, I've been on the show. But let me tell you this. No, Liberians need a visionary. Because what we have now, we are literally patching. We don't need people to patch up things. We need people to innovate things. We need a
different election. One of the things you will need that money so that you can be able to travel and get your message to the people.
Yes.
Will you get that money?
Oh, of course. I will tell you this. I don't want to reveal people's names, but there are many Liberians who have reached out to me offering monies. They have reached out to me. And I don't know if it's okay for me to
talking about those poor Liberians who will be giving you $5 and $10?
No. Well, it is a sign that even though they are poor, it's what you call widow's mite. So we appreciate those Liberians because even though they are poor, they want to see change in Liberia. So we appreciate them.
You think Dada Rada will call it for you?
Well, what I'm saying is we appreciate every Liberian, rich or poor. But the last thing I want to say, you see, the last thing I want to say here, my brothers, Liberia can get better within our lifetime. We just need leaders who are visionary and who have integrity. It is sad for me to see the conditions Liberia is in right now. And let me tell you the worst part of it. We have corrupt and incompetent leadership that are literally profiting from that country while the people live in poverty. That has to change. Let me tell you the final thing. Cummings, Gonglo, and the rest of the people, they have offered nothing in terms of poverty alleviation as well as the transformation of the economy. Last thing, Liberia, as we speak right now, is a country where almost 99% of the country has no address. If that don't bother
please end with this. What are you offering the Liberian people, Ben? For which
I'm offering a total restructuring of Liberia. We have to remake Liberia, especially so to be in terms with modernity. Last thing I want to say, your country right now has no address system. That should bother everybody here. Your country has no national ID card. Your country has no individual identification number. It should bother all of us because those are the basis for a functioning economy. Thank you.
Just so you're aware, country has a national ID card. And gentlemen, like I said, you were disconnected, Ben.
The ID card has no address. I criticize the ID card made by Ellen. It has no address.
To you, gentlemen, you're listening to the presidential hopeful. You know, he made his case why he thinks he's better.
Yeah, you're my national ID.
Yeah, there's no address on it. There's no address.
Oh, because I don't have so I mean it doesn't exist.
No, I'll tell you this. The restriction for an ID card is must have an address. That is an unacceptable ID.
Like go to the discussion. Time.
It's unacceptable. It has no address on it.
And this is the final segment yet. And let me come to you, Bloj. Do you see what Benjamin Cummings Fyneah is saying that he has, that Waka does not have, Weah doesn't have, Gonglo doesn't have, and Cummings doesn't have. Do you really see it in him? Is it more a factor in the upcoming election, Loje?
So until I see my friend Ben in Fagona in Lofa County, then we'll have a conversation about whether he's a factor in elections. So when I see him there, we'll have that discussion. But I wanted to respond quick to a couple of things, and then I'll move along. Somebody talk about census not being conducted shows failure on the part of this administration. Look, the fact that census itself has not been conducted shows failure on the very perception of competence that we have with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Let's look at the budget in 2018. George Weah came to power in January.
Are you really going to do that?
No, wait, hold on. Give me a chance. Give me a chance.
Go ahead.
Give me a chance, my people.
No, wait.
Let's wait.
Go ahead. Sorry for hijacking you.
The census should have been conducted in 2018.
That's correct.
Right? In March, the census should have been conducted. George Weah came to power in 2018 in January. The budget for 2018 was drafted. The period was there money in the budget for census by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the so-called competent government? Zero. Was there any preparation for census? Because they should have prepared for census before the next government came in place. George Weah should have just come to power and carry on the census. Was there any organization for census? Zero. There was no planning. There was no administration for census. There was no money for census. There was nothing. So you cannot say George Weah failed because he just came in January and census should have been in March. Nothing was there. And so right after 2018, whilst George Weah was mobilizing resources for census, we saw COVID-19 came to place. The whole world was shut down. That's a fact. The whole world was shut down where people could not even move. So how would have George Weah conducted census, in fact, the next year? So these are reality. It was not George Weah's problem. It was a failure of competence, perceived competence.
Choppy, this factor existed, and you were opting for $1 billion for coastal.
No, but this is a reality. There was no money. But let me finish with a point. There was no money. Somebody talk about a central bank.
Well, you were funding. You were looking, because that's a responsibility of the government too.
But that's what the government was looking for, the money. There was no money. The government had to look for the money. And in looking for the money, we had the whole world shut down.
Let's protect him.
Those were exogenous or factor that the government could not control. In the face of finding money, the whole world shut down. The whole world shut down. So is it the government going to play a miracle? No. So we're talking about money being left in the central bank.
And how much money are we talking about here, Choppy? Please.
Yeah, wait. How
much are we talking about here for the census?
No, the fact is there was no money there. There was no money. George Weah, we're not going to take money from his pocket. There was no organization for census. There was no administration for census.
Expected to take money from his pocket.
I said you didn't expect him to take money from his pocket. So let's deal with reality. We want to deal with reality. Yeah, let's deal with reality. January, George Weah take over. This is going to be conducted. But I mean,
requirement. This is a constitutional mandate.
But let's not.
As the chief enforcer, hold on, Choppy, bear with me, please. Bear with me. I'll give you time, brother. As the chief enforcer of the laws of Liberia, the Constitution demands that census be conducted every 10 years. So when he came to power, that was one of his constitutional responsibility. I agree with you. They didn't put enough money in the budget for census.
No money was there. No money was there.
That is a fair point. But 5 years later, you still going to blame Ellen?
Okay, so wait now. We must deal with reality. So the fact is, no plan was there for census. So it was not George Weah for that census. I'm establishing the fact that it was not George Weah for that census was not conducted in 2018. Let's establish that fact first. Well,
Senator, what about
Anthony, can I say something towards this?
Now, I agree with you, but
okay, wait now, but
as a basis of justifying a constitutional violation year after year.
I have not ended my point. Please. So the first thing, it is not Weah's fault. It is not a CDC government fault. So let's establish that fact. Second thing.
It was not their fault in 2018. Was it not their fault in 2019?
I'm going to come to those other places. I mean, you have to give me a chance now. You have to give me a chance. You have to give me a chance. You're not giving me a chance to make this point. You're not giving me a chance to make the point. 2018, 2019, the next year, what happened? The whole world shut down. COVID. Everybody shut down. Even America, this great country shut down.
COVID came in 2020, Chappie.
2019, COVID-19, COVID-19 is 2019. 2019, the following year. So that's a fact. That's a fact. So now,
COVID came in 2020, Chappie.
2019, COVID-19, I think it's COVID-19, 2019.
COVID-19 at the end of so December 2020. COVID did not hit Liberia until probably.
Allow me to make my point.
Let Choppy learn, please.
Yeah. So we able to put this census thing in a garbage against the president. It's in a garbage. Secondly, we talk about money. The government of Liberia needs about $500 million to run government. When George Weah took over, you have $150 million in the bank or reserve or whatever. That's broke. The government was broke. $150 million when you need $500 million, it means the government was broke. It's another failure of the so-called competence. So we have to look for about $400 million plus to run government. No money was available. It was broke. Then I want to respond to another issue.
Yeah.
I'm going to respond to another issue that my man, I think it was Prophet Mario, somebody make about Taylor.
45 seconds, Choppy.
No, but I mean, you interrupted me a lot. I wanted to correct this idea that, they said Taylor resisted a security situation in Liberia and international fire. That's false. Every country where international military forces have gone signed a state of forces agreement. Taylor did not resist. Taylor said ECOMOS should sign a state of forces agreement when we had an elected government. Before the 1997 election, there was no elected government in the country. And even when UNME went to Liberia, the records are there. UNME signed a state of forces agreement with the Liberian government. When America went to Iraq, they signed a state of forces agreement when Iraq held elections. So Taylor was making a valid point. He did not say no. He said sign a state of forces agreement. I don't want to correct this point. We can move to other issues. So in conclusion, let me just end on this point.
Yeah, please on the Ben question because I don't want to deviate from the debate.
I'm ending on Ben question. Like I said, I want to see Ben in Fagona home, that's in Lofa County. I want to see Ben in Yanyaken. I don't know where you know this place, that's in River G County. I want to see him in Sester. I want to see him in these places, and then we'll have a conversation about
in Bokonjire, Sano County.
Then we'll have a conversation whether he's a factor in elections. But as it stands,
does he know those places?
I don't even know that. But as it stands, Ben is making a reverse argument. I call it kind of fraudulent defense mechanism in favor of Cummings to project Cummings as a strong candidate when Cummings himself has said he's not a strong candidate. He's a very weak candidate.
You think he's auditioning for Cummings folks to recruit him?
I don't think so. I think he's just making a pitch for Cummings, an indirect pitch, because negative reinforcement. But the reality is Cummings himself has said he's not ready. And even the man who should have some leverage. I mean, that's why we're not even having a conversation about
Cummings has said that he's not ready. Please don't say that.
Cummings last night on your show, when he was asked about a vice presidential choice, he canceled himself. He said he did not have the political appeal, and so he wanted somebody vice president that would pitch the appeal for him to attract people, to inspire people. To me, that's canceling on himself. He said he needed a vice president that would attract appeal, popular appeal.
No,
that's canceling himself.
But anyway,
thank you. Dolake will give you the chance to go for that. I think you want to punch back. Go ahead.
The first thing he is speaking about concerning...
Please, let's focus on the Ben question. If you want to deviate a little bit, it should just be a few seconds. Let's focus. This Ben man who is making this big mouth, does he have what it takes? You understand? What can he do better than Cummings, Bwaka, and Gonglo for which he thinks that he's going to win?
To be honest with you, we are not into, Rachel Google say we're not into witchcraft business, and we're not performing juju. The things we say here, they are scientific, they has indicators. So if Ben say, for example... Are you
saying Ben going to give the other candidates Sasewu and then they will knock them out?
No, if Ben said that since 2018 he had not been back home, it's troubling. I mean, scientifically, to be in touch to win hearts and minds is a difficult thing. Even Ellis Cummings, who is contesting, who's always in America, back Europe, but he's stationed in Liberia since 2018. So the margin, the indicator to say that he's competent than Mr. Cummings, I don't get it. Another thing is that he just read those Google, research stuff and think it's not appealing. Ben, we can do better than that. We can't just read Google managers and political leaders and come up with all kind of study and think that we're making pleasantry arguments to win the hearts and minds of our people. I said that I will not discount you as a political person. I don't know what motivated your vision to say you want to run. I've not heard of your petition yet. Probably one has happened. But I welcome that even you stand taller than Mr. Cummings, and because we want to rate everybody in order to be reinforcing as to what we want to do or what we didn't do better 2017. And so I would think that for you to talk about Mr. Cummings about TRC, his assertion about TRC is clear. He supports the recommendation of the TRC. All that he's asking for is to go through the rudimentary, which is the legal proceeding for the establishment of War Economic Crime Code. There were people who were killed. Those who were killed, we cannot afford for them to not be accounted for. There were people who were lied on. Those people's names need to be clear. And there were people who are victims as well. So the victims must face the accuser. So, and lastly, to Blodge, look, when you have to read something called cash-based budget. When your budget is based on cash, what you get and what you spend, then you understand what we are speaking about, to talk about what you met in the treasury of Liberia to run the entire government on it, to say that you should have met 1 billion in the account, so that you get to the 1 billion and start using it.
But you can't leave the country broke, my man. 150 million, you leave the whole country broke.
I'm coming. You did not even say that there was a broke country, as a matter of fact. President Weah graded Madam Seri 80%. Probably that.
Come on, for peace.
I'm coming, please. 1 minute. The president of the country graded the former president 80%. Probably in the psychometry school or in Congotan, it is failing grade. So I don't know how you will come back again after you have passed the woman prior to taking leadership. Besides, the president was a senator contesting to be president. The vice president was a senator contesting to be president. What were their arguments on the censor and government policy issue as related to budget, knowing that an opposition party is a government in waiting that will champion the cause of the people? These flimsy excuses, even in your home, when you use excuses on your women and your children, you are not going to make any significant progress. That is why 3% has sanctioned, and there is no decision to be made up to now about investigation.
Thank you. And because of time, Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, you gotta give me just 2 minutes. Let me just address.
I will give you 1.5.
No problem. No problem. That's good enough. That's good enough. So the point that Dolake made about cash-based budget, I think I should explain that a little bit to Mama Choppy. The way our budget works is that we collect revenue, people pay taxes, all our money go to the consolidated account. Choppy, just hear me out, Chief. I'm begging you.
I'm listening.
We collect our money and go to the consolidated account. That money is projected. So the LRA job is to say, okay, in 2020, this is the amount of money we'll collect for the year. Once that money is collected, that money goes straight through, and we built a budget based on what the projections are, because expenditure is a function of revenue. So once we have all that money go to the consolidated account, government start writing checks, and then they spend all that money through the entire year. The $150 million you met in the bank is not part of the budget that is built every year. That money is a part of the saving that we say we set some money apart just for the future in case something happens. So we take some of that money there, we put it in a central bank and keep it there for safekeeping. It has no connection whatsoever with the national budget. You come to the top power, you see $150 million in the central bank, and you say, oh, people left plenty money for let's play something small, because right now everybody broke. So you see, oh man, are passing around acting like the muscle men, and because some of that money they mismanage it. The money was only meant as a savings for the
Morris,
future.
come to
When we talk
the
about
debate question, please. We're not discussing finance here, please. Yeah, we're
so I
discussing.
don't want to
That
provide
explanation is still
let's
wrap
get
up.
back to my man Ben.
That explanation is still wrap up.
That's fine. That's fine.
And that's
So,
not why I even made. I said
that's
$150
fine.
million in his bank.
That's okay, Chief. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you got plenty CDC point in finance ministry right now. Call them as they.
But it's still broke.
We have a debate between the two of you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So please leave that out.
Yeah,
Come to
that's
the
fine.
Ben question. We have callers that waiting. We want to bring them
the
in.
Ben issue.
Mhm.
My man Ben is a good friend of mine. When I hear that he wants to be president of Liberia, I think it's still in a conceptual stage yet. I don't think he has ever thought about the idea of really trying to run. He's just right now he's just thinking about saying, well, if Weah can be president, myself can be president. I think he's getting his confidence from President Weah because he believed, Weah is an ignorant
Maybe
man.
he knew him. They used to take pictures together. They were friends.
I don't know when the last time my man Ben was in Liberia. I don't know how many people on Ben's team. I don't know if Ben has anybody in his circle that say, my man, you have led us in a social organization. You took us from point A to point Z. We believe you have what it takes to move, a county of 5,000 people or, a community of 300 people. Unless you start to demonstrate that in some sort of strong leadership, ability in social gathering or in, your corporate work area, the idea of running for president is just a conception because, all of us can sit in our comfort zone and tell our wives and our children, say, I want to be president. It's easier for anybody to say it. But the actual work, whatever Cummings have done between 2017 and 2020, it takes a man to do what he did. I'm not an ANC man, but I can acknowledge that. The same way I can say that Weah is a popular Liberian, I'm able to say that. But to say that, Cummings is not a factor, my man Ben he's still conceptualizing yet. He's still in the concept stage.
Thank you. We will now go to our control room. There's a video we want to play, which is significant to the discussion. Choppy said something concerning Cummings. We will play that clip right now.
In the case of President Obama, he did not have a foreign policy of experience, so he picked Joe Biden. Is there anything that Mr. Cummings lacks that you'll be looking for in your vice president?
Dennis, what's going on? I can't hear it from my end.
Guys, we're hearing it.
Oh,
okay. There's no one variable in my mind that outweighs the other. All of these happen because nobody will bring everything to the.
It's breaking up, man.
Party.
Right.
And so we will look at what the individuals brings holistically.
Yeah, it's not working.
But he said it basically, he said nobody can bring everything on board.
Nobody bring everything on board, but.
Yeah, because that's a but.
But he said but. So that I bought, so yeah now.
Nobody bring everything on board. You got Manos on your side. The but you got some mistake. The but I got some mistake.
Not a but now, not a but
back. You just like Palan.
Our moderator gone, so I don't know if
we'll consider. And of course, I didn't mention the chemistry has to work between the president and I. We gotta trust each other, very important consideration. But I'm not looking for any one thing above everything else.
Right.
I'm looking for.
But is there an area in you?
This video is not working, man. I think we should just move on.
Yeah, I don't.
Is there a place I use the Joe Biden?
Yeah,
Obama
so
example.
Yeah, man, won't get it, man. Coming, Janet won't get it, man. Coming off.
No,
It
no,
ain't working.
no, don't worry.
Hey, gentlemen.
You're saving man tonight. No way.
Okay, gentlemen. Anthony has lost internet connection, and so we continue the debate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
now we just come in
Ben,
with a point.
I'm sure Ben got a few words to
Yeah.
say.
Please, guys, let me just give this reaction.
Gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we're hearing you.
yeah,
We're hearing you, Dennis.
All right. Anthony has lost connection, and so we continue the debate, right? So at this time, we're going to bring in our callers. There are a lot of callers lined up here. So let's bring in our callers.
Well, my man Steven Johnny already firing off, sir.
Hold on. Our first caller here is Terry Collins. Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, I listened to the brother who said that Cummings has 60% in the first. He will get 60% in the first round. I think he's joking. We need to understand, and this would be an advice to the Cummings team, that there is a factor that Cummings team are not challenging in the political landscape of Liberia, and that factor have to do with the gay analysis. His position on gay rights in Liberia politics is opposite to American politics. In America, gay something can make you to win politically, but in Liberia, it's a serious problem politically, and he's not addressing it. There is a huge propaganda against him in 2023, and that factor is not being clarified.
Right.
So that alone is going to send Cummings numbers down drastically. All right. Even though he's working hard, but we have to take into consideration that Liberian culture is different, and they see him from that perspective. They believe that he's going to support that, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration. In my mind, Joseph Yema Boyka and President Weah is leading the polls politically in Liberia right now. So I don't know where the brother is getting his analysis from. I think he needs to recheck, because there are 4 million people in Liberia and 2.1 million people registered to vote in 2017. And among that group of people, I think only 1.7 million people voted. And among them, there were a lot of votes that were invalid, and also there were votes that went in. So if you're looking at the numbers, you got to take all of those factors into consideration to make your analysis. So I don't know from whence, what is perspective on his analysis from the number perspective that he's drawing the conclusion that Cummings will win 60%.
But what do you make of Ben's own chances of winning? All right, our caller is gone there. Let's go to our next caller, and that's Elvis Morris. Elvis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. John. And I just want to say something to Mr. Kofa. I think Mr. CEO was a bit too harsh with him earlier in the show, but I think he's actually doing himself a service by advertising himself for some kind of position, maybe a middle manager, position in the Cummings government. But in all honesty, I think Mr. Kofa could be a great help to the government, whichever government comes into place next. But my question to him is, what is taking him so long to go to Liberia? Even right now as we're speaking, what's the hold up for him in terms of being in the country? And then my last point would just be to Mr. Doroke. I think, well, not really to Mr. Doroke, but I think since he's an ANC man, I think Mr. Cummings really did himself, I won't say a disservice yesterday, but he left a lot to be desired, especially when it comes on in terms of reconciliation. We'll use that word, but AKA Walcomb's court. I think he wasn't very strong on that point. For some of us who were affected by the war, it's a very, very touching point for most of us. And I think we still have a lot to desire, on that front. But for me, I will tell you this. If the election was held today, I will hold my nose and vote for Cummings, because I think, like Mr. Kofa said, he's a better manager. Right now, we need a manager to manage our country. Even if it would just be so it don't get worse, we need somebody like that. We hasn't done enough to deserve a second term. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Ben, before we even move any further, when was the last time you were in Liberia? Let's get this straight, just quickly.
This caller, or you want me to answer everything?
No, just that question. When was the last time you were in Liberia?
I mean, I'm on mute. Like everybody said, 2018.
Okay. All right. Let me bring in another. And since you started this campaign, when you've never been to Liberia since you started your presidential run?
No, I'm not.
Thank you. Let's go to our next caller here. And we have a caller 832 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
I'm Kima Ross. I'm calling from Houston, Texas. I just wanted to clarify about what Mr. Cummings said when he said that his running mate should be somebody else. He's not saying, in simple English, he's not saying that he doesn't know what to do, or he's saying that I need somebody different from a different background. It's like, okay, I'm a businessman. I know how to organize. This is my area. I need somebody else, probably a doctor or a lawyer, so we can complement each other. Because everybody don't know everything. That's why he's saying that he needs somebody else. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Is it somebody like a doctor, lawyer, or a talk show host? I want you to include that.
No, I'm just saying that he needs somebody else from a different background.
Thank
He's
you.
not saying that, oh, I'm not qualified, I don't know what I'm doing. I just need somebody else from a different background to complement me so we can work together.
Thank you. And your name again?
Kima Ross.
Kima Ross, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's get, please take notes, gentlemen. Let's get our next caller here. That's Dosik Paul. Mr. Paul.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you for taking my call. So, I think Ben, Brother Ben is doing very well, because one of what I really like about what he does is that he tries to address, at least the foundation, because we all know, I always say, economics is science, but it's not rocket science. We all know what is affecting Liberia, But we want to see somebody that will at least speak to at least every sector, of the economy. And one of my biggest, probably I'm starting to have with Mr. Cummings home I support and wholeheartedly, because again, I don't doubt his ability to lead Liberia, is that he's not addressing every sector of the economy. And I know he can, but for some reason he just hang on to this agriculture, tourism. I hope Brother Jonathan is listening, and I'll take this into consideration. If you advance Mr. Cummings, because my biggest fear is Mr. Cummings getting off stage. It's not because he can't win the election, but he got to win at his back right now. And if he doesn't sharpen his message and go against people like Brother Ben, or maybe even Mr. Congo, there's a good chance they might be off stage or off stage. You know what I mean? Because he's not addressing the financial sector of the economy, but every time it's agriculture, tourism. So the message got to get sharpened, because again, Mr. Cummings cannot be coming to debate and then leaving and people saying there is not specifics. It bothers me. You know what I mean? We need specifics, but the Jonathan are watching on TV while I'm talking at the same time. You know what I mean? If you talk to Mr. Cummings, we need more specifics.
Thank you.
Because again, he has the win at his back, and for some reason, somebody can take that win from his back if he doesn't sharpen his message. That's my concern I got. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Let's bring in Comrade Meleta, ideologue of the Unity Party, Mr. Aliyu Kamara.
First of all, I resent that, but let me compliment you for your show yesterday. You sat over there like some guy who was trained by Rayfield, but you fell out. You know how to do your thing. History is your weak point, but when it comes to conducting professional interviews, you're pretty good at it.
Thank you. Let's go to today's debate.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to now. Hey, listen. Morris, if you think you're more confused about Benjamin and I had a debate. We all had a debate the other time, and somebody came and this guy went and brought some people and called them, said they were judges, and they really thought that Fyneah won the debate. But when all I listened to was just a lot of rhetorical comments that did not have any substantiation. When you say 18 to 34-year-old and they're going to go this way holistically, That is just unrealistic. Let me give you an example. The 1997 election, I was in that group, 18 to 24. I am from the Mandingo background. Guess who I voted for? Even though whether or not he could have won, what stigma or what stereotype was associated with him, I voted Alhaji Kuman. Okay? Grandmaster Kade voted for somebody else, depending on who. So that constituent you're talking about, you cannot just take that whole group and go put them in one spot. And let me say this, Fyneah. If you were Arizona Cummings were to go to La Croix today to go in any election, whether that was senatorial election, Arizona Cummings would be far away. Okay? So let us not pretend around here to say, oh, because I can take 5 minutes to answer a 10-second question. That means we know what we're saying. Okay? So I think you're a great guy. I wish you all the luck. But if you got your $100,000 in that soil, don't carry it to Monrovia. Liberia election is such a way that we can already predict the first three in the race. Just as we are telling
you mean 100,000 or 10,000?
I just proposed to you to say 100,000, but Liberia election is such that we can predict 5 years ahead the first three, and that's exactly what you're going to find in the race. The first three is Buckeye, Weah, and Cummings. That is the way it's going to be in 2023. So, if you say you really understand Liberian politics and you're smart, you will not put your $10,000 in the race. You lose it. But it's a wonderful show. And again, I love my boy Charlie. Charlie can just come up with some things that he can make it fun too. And I like that about him. But when you say you want to compare CDC with Unity Party, then something is wrong. But let me just clarify something you said.
Thank you.
An ideologue of the Unity Party. The reason why I come to your show and I do not shine like I should is because I always desist from attempting to be a surrogate or a pundit of the Unity Party. I am not charged with that authority. When I come to your show, I speak about Joseph Boakai. Whenever you try to bring me to Joseph Boakai 2 a year, I always withdraw because if you go to George Lobo or go to Kruma on the show or they go to the Unity Party people, they will give you those details. Okay? But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Aliyu. Thank you so much. All right, Aliyu is the last caller here. I know you guys were taking notes. You were taking notes. Anthony is on assignment in West Palm Beach, so he's having some issues here. So let's respond to our callers quickly here. And Ben, I know you are the mean guy, but let me start with Jonathan. Maybe you have 1 minute. People call the name Cummings a couple of times.
Thank you. Let me say that I listened to the caller. The first caller attempt to call Mr. Cummings or refer to him as gay concluded there's something called when your argument is non sequitur. It means your premise and your conclusion are not tied in. They are not presenting itself in wholesome. So when he said that Cummings needs to clarify gay, and then he equated the election of 2023 to be between Ambassador Boakai and George Weah, it clearly demonstrated that he's one of those, and he also mentioned that it's propaganda, so he's informed of the propaganda, but he is not prepared to dispel that propaganda because he wants to survive on the propaganda in favor of his candidate. So you can clearly understand who are pushing specific lines.
Thank you. Hold your thought, Jonathan. Let me bring in our last caller.
But the message you're going to vote for Cummings,
No,
your name and where you calling from? Let me get the last call. Sorry, say that again.
I'm Ferguson Weah calling from Brockton tonight.
Go ahead, Mr. Weah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dennis, for allowing me to have my say on your show tonight. If the election was tonight, I will choose President Weah over all those people that are running around. Because President Weah have made us to know that Nigerian tax pay your money can pay your road. Nigerian tax pay your money can pay your Nigerian government house. Nigerian tax pay your money can pay your hospital. Nigerian tax pay your money can make Nigerian to feed they have government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Those will be all our callers. Continue, Jonathan. And let's take at least 1.5 minutes each, and so we can wind this down. We've gone over 2 hours. So, Jonathan, end your thoughts, and then we go to Ben.
And so that caller was from the JMB. He expressed it clearly. So the reason why he promotes a propaganda against Mr. Cummings. And Blowjay, that caller cannot be mixed up with Elvis. Elvis is the one who spoke about war crime code. Okay. And he wants Mr. Cummings to hammer war crime code. Mr. Cummings had publicly said on T-Ma's show he supports war and economic crime code. He supports the end of impunity. And on the agriculture front that people are speaking about, Mr. Cummings has a program that he has articulated combating corruption, using different indicators, that is to use a fast track court and putting up a combat unit together that can combat corruption. He has spoken about the creation of jobs, which is major to our country through revitalizing the economy. He has spoken about agriculture, mechanized farming in different manner and form. He has spoken about modernizing healthcare, and that is demonstrated through a Cummings Africa Foundation that have been contributing hundreds of millions to different healthcare at different referral hospitals in Liberia. He has spoken about not just about healthcare, but about the curative before the preventive before the curative, because it better prevent the sickness before the cure. He also spoken about the issue of hearts and mind. Look, for us to own Liberia, just today, he was speaking at the Columbia Business Forum today about how Liberians can own, how Africa can own their continent. To own their continent, you got to do it through arts and craft. You got to do it through tourism where people will see it feasible to come there. You got to do it through service like Nigeria would do, national service where students graduate and move to different community and see themselves at one. These are things that Mr. Cummings has spoken about continuously. So in one interview, he might not be able to bundle all those things in one interview. But however, he always articulates these issues of concern at different levels.
Thank you. Ben, let's see 1.5 minutes, please.
Yeah, last thing I want to say, sir, thank you for this show. I really appreciate the show tonight. But you see, I will speak to the last individual who called. You see, when we come to this show, we should come informed. One thing I want to strike, he said, George Weah built roads in Liberia. You see, when we talk about this thing, we should have the numbers. There's 10,600 kilometers of road network in Liberia. Out of that 10,000, only 667 kilometers is paved. You see, we should not come here with emotions. We should come here with numbers. We should come here with empirical data. Now, the last one who called before the last guy, he said he voted, in X amount of way in the last election. You see, there's something called statistical analysis. We are not putting people in groups. We are statistically analyzing the number because the number speaks. The number speaks for itself. The numbers speak. I'm not telling you what's happening. I'm telling you.
I keep hearing about this number. Where are these numbers?
You see here, this is the election. This is the election number. The last election, the election before that. Oh, the numbers speak. The highest.
So how those numbers?
Let me tell you, the highest percent of votes we have in Liberia, 45%, come from a specific range between the ages of 18 to 24. Right. Those are the people that voted in mass in the election in Liberia. And let me tell you this: that vote is always a protest. And let me make this thing clear. I am not saying Cummings is doing anything positive. Cummings is doing nothing. The vote that I say he will win will be a protest against the CDC incompetence.
But how does a protest against CDC favor Cummings?
That's what I'm saying, because he's the only man who the public perception has it now that he's a more competent manager.
Where does that come from, that public perception?
That's the same perception that took over in 2005 with Ellen.
No. I mean, for 2023, where is that perception? Where is that starting?
Because you are looking how the country has been managed since 2018.
No. You talk numbers here. You talk numbers, right?
Yes.
So where are the numbers of 2023 that say public perception is in Cummings' favor?
That's what I'm telling you. It's conclusive because since 2018 to now,
No. How the numbers for 2023? How the perception now favor Cummings? Where the report?
No, listen to this. I don't know if you're getting me clear.
No,
the perception is a build-up from 2018 to now. Right. What the perception is that the country is not being managed well. So we need a more competent manager. Right. It could be anybody else, but Cummings is the one who is perceived to be that.
No. Stop there. Cummings is perceived to be that. Where do you get that from?
I'm just telling you based on the statistical data and what happened prior.
But where is that statistical data that you have that we don't have?
I just showed it to you. I told you the block of vote, who vote and how they vote. They vote as a protest block.
Dennis, let's move on, man. Dennis, please let in the show. I beg you.
How do you say, because this is the way they voted in 2017, so they are going to vote the same way in 2017? So let's assume, hold on, let's assume they are voting the same way. How does Cummings' name get picked out of the hat? That's the one you are not telling me.
But do you understand? I'm telling you, this is not about Cummings. It's a protest against the government, but it will fall on the one who is perceived to be a competent manager. That's what I'm telling you.
How is Cummings perceived to be a?
Because that is how he's advertised. They say he worked at Coca-Cola as a CEO. Same thing with Ellen. She worked at the World Bank as the World Bank country manager.
Where are you getting the numbers from that it is Cummings that is being perceived?
No. Maybe you are missing what I'm telling you. It's not the Cummings, the individual. It's a protest against the government, that the government is incompetent. We need a more competent manager.
And why is the competent manager not Buaka? Why is the competent manager that it perceives is not Buaka, is not Ben, is not Gonglo?
That's what I'm telling you, because they have established a brand. So he worked at Coca-Cola. He was a regional manager.
No, it is because he winning minds.
No, he's not. He's not.
Who is the day that established
that whole argument upside down?
No. It is upside down because you have a partisan bent. I'm just telling you the reality.
Because you keep talking about numbers and you have not shown me any numbers. There is no way that you have.
Ben is using the 2005 numbers to project that number on Cummings.
I got the 2005 numbers, the 2011 and the 2017. There's a party
numbers you have it. How does the current situation favor Cummings? That's the number you don't have.
That's what I'm telling you. The current situation is the combination of
you don't have that number. You don't have that number, Ben.
Okay.
How?
Ben.
Yeah, let's move on. You don't have that number.
The number Ben talking about rejected.
You don't understand the argument I'm making here. It's not about Cummings. It's about the perception of the government that will be falling on Cummings as an alternative to what the government is doing. Cummings is doing nothing here. Cummings has no program, no nothing.
It doesn't happen in vacuum. It doesn't happen in vacuum.
It happened with Ellen. It happened with Ellen.
It doesn't favor Ben by being out of the country since 2018. It favors Cummings because
Ben, you are disconnected from the politics. Please,
I'm not.
Choppy, go ahead.
Let me just give a few seconds to Ben numbers. Those numbers were transferred up in 2017 elections.
Ben doesn't have the numbers.
No. I'm taking his argument and turning it upside down. Let's agree with his numbers. In 2017, the voter said no to that argument. Cummings projected himself as competence, Bromsky competence, Buaka competence. All of them were arguing on competence against George Weah. The voters rejected and denounced that argument. So that argument is canceled. Ben is mute. It has no validity. So, but let's let's move on here. Liberia now is suffering from long years of Joseph Boakai Unity Party, 12 years failed government. That's what the country is suffering from right now. And there are a lot of studies that prove this point. Take, for example, hunger in the country. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, hunger is linked to all kinds of diseases in the country, in people, in human beings. Hunger. And we know that hunger for a long period of time, all the research reports from international organizations have shown that during the 12-year rule of Joseph Boakai Unity Party, Liberians suffer a protracted period of hunger due to high prices of food, low wages, or in some cases, no wages for family to support their families, go to hospital and other things. And so this hunger affected the learning ability. We saw education was a mess under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Joseph Boakai 12 years. So these things is what this government is facing. This government is trying to move Liberia to a different level, and these are not 12 years of suffering. It's not going to or change overnight. And so George Weah is moving the government away from the hunger period into a different space, which is going to take some time. Nation building is not an easy task. It's not an overnight process. It's a difficult task to do. And just before I close down, I just wanted to quickly, it's just going to take me a few seconds to respond to 2 quick points that I heard. And thanks to our Unity Party brother who spoke.
30 seconds.
He made a great point. Correction. I agree with the Cummings supporter that said that Cummings was talking about a different person, somebody with a different background. I agree. He said that a different background from him, somebody who is better able to perform the task that he cannot perform to attract voters. That's why he was talking about somebody different. So I agree with that point.
No,
and then
he said he's an introvert, so he wanted an extrovert. I mean,
yes, somebody different from him. So completely different. Opposite, completely different. Yeah. So that's a fair point. So George Weah is definitely going to win these elections because the political variable does not favor the opposition.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to Morris. Morris, respond to our callers, please.
Okay. I mean, for most of the callers, they were, talking to Ben and Mr. Cummings. But overall, I think part of the conversation that I think Ben should walk away from tonight is to actually dig a little deeper into the politics of the country and understand the profile of, understand the profile of the people that are contesting, understand the behavior of the voters, understand the different segment, how the country is divided, and how people vote. There are multi-dimensional aspects of voting patterns in Liberia, and I want you to understand that aspect. There's no way you can take one number and say, okay, this is a pattern between 2005 and now, and because of that pattern, I can make an assumption on this candidate. It will be faulty and erroneous. You have to take it from all the different aspects of what it makes. I mean, like I said, Cummings came in 2017, first time on the political scene, and he racked up 112,000 votes. That's an impressive result. It's impressive. You can't ignore that fact. Ben, like one of the callers said, if you go to Liberia to run and you run against Cummings, even in a community election, he would drag you.
No way.
He would drag you.
No
maybe
way.
99.99999%. You'll be lucky. You're the only person to vote for yourself. if you're not careful, you will vote for Cummings against yourself. But I mean, and the last part I wanted to point before I leave is this thing about Unity Party failure. I'm not a Unity Party person, like I always say, but it's good for us to stay honest with.
We'll have the debate.
Yeah, please, Dennis. I'm really hoping that you can bring us back.
We'll have the debate between
let's debate this issue because the country did not fail on President Sirleaf. There's no way we can argue the amount of things that happen.
We'll schedule and get back to you, perfect manager. At this time, let's draw down the curtains. I want to give each of you 40 seconds each to make your closing remarks. Let's start with Morris.
Okay, I mean, thank you again for the opportunity. I really always enjoy the conversation. Dolake, Chappie Charlie, Ben, thanks for the opportunity to share the platform with you. Hopefully, we'll do it again in the future.
Ben?
I say to every Liberian hearing the sound of my voice, I will continue to stress the administration we have in Liberia now have built up a huge amount of negative in terms of the public perception. And that perception is almost insurmountable. And the election of 2023 will be a protest vote. Unfortunately, the individual who is perceived to be a more competent manager, Mr. Alexander Cummings, has zero in terms of political education and zero in terms of political management. So I want to prevent Liberian protest vote from going to Mr. Cummings. I want them to vote for me because I have the political skills and the political knowledge, the competence to manage Liberia. I want to say thanks to all of my friends who are on this stage. I appreciate that. Maurice, you are never my old friend. You are my good friend. Choppy is my brother. So I want to say thank you guys. But I think there was a misunderstanding in terms of what I tried to say here tonight. Bottom line is there will be a protest vote and it will be directed to an individual who I do not want to have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Choppy?
Well, again, I think it was a good discussion. And one of the things I must commend the fellow tonight, this is one of the conversation, and we need to have this type of conversation where people can make their view with somebody getting personally attacked. We just stay on the issues. I think there was a very, very good discussion tonight. We all represent our different views, and nobody was labeled, nobody was attacked, nobody was named negatively. I think we're making progress in our public discourse. Let's continue this kind of conversation. It's very healthy. Let's make our strong points, but let's keep it civil. On that note, we're going to continue moving. Maybe Cummings is still remaking himself. We've not heard the best of him yet. Campaign has not started. Maybe he will be coming up with a new trick. But as it stands now, he's far removed from nearing the presidency. He might come up with something else. We don't know. He might learn something we don't know. But we are still the man to beat at the battle box.
Thank you. Mr. Dolake.
Thank you so much for this conversation, and thanks to all my colleagues who sat on the platform and the audience who have been following. President Weah will be booted out of the presidency because they mismanaged donor funding, and the ambassadors have to write to warn the government that was irresponsible. President Weah will be booted out because he has created a condition of laissez-faire leadership. 3 of our officials have been sanctioned. There have been no action taken. 3 boys have gone missing years. Nobody can give account of it. The Nigerian logistician have gone missing. The government does nothing about it. Voters are not packing continuous in 2017. Voters are interacting with the social variables of the country and the issues confronting them, and they're going to make that decision based on those decisions that government have taken over a period of time. Mr. Fyneah, it is good having conversation with you, but to have a political knowledge, you must have control of political institution. There is zero record of you controlling any political institution. Mr. Cummings managed the CPP very ably and brought in more senators. He's still managing the Alternative National Congress and the current CPP. He demonstrated leadership politically. That's why he got a whooping 112,000 for 2017, 18 months to election. We are the underdog, but we will be prepared ever to continue to beat President Weah until we out in 2023.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. And there you have it. I want to challenge all of you. Please encourage your standard bearers or political leaders to come right back here and focus on Liberia. Let them have a debate, because the culture of debate, let us debate ideas. Most of the time you hear things like, oh, to be Weah, everybody got to join, or you got to do this. Nobody is talking about ideas. So it is only here we want to talk about ideas so that we put all the ideas together. I know all the opposition leaders want to beat Weah. Come here and debate, and let's see which plan is better. Yeah. And then you can use that plan, and that's the time people will rally around you. But people are not going to rally around anybody just in a vacuum. Let's come and talk about the ideas, and it's right here. And if you are somewhere and you and your friends, they are arguing all the time on Facebook, give us a call, and we're going to have a debate, arrange one right here on Focus on Liberia. This is the home of the debate. I want to thank all of you again for coming. Keep tuned. Always watch Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Until then, whether you think Ben is a non-factor or he's going to win the election, whether you think Weah will win, Cummings will win, Gonglo or Boakai, we are all Liberians. And it is incumbent upon all of us to do whatever it takes to make our country the glorious land of liberty. We are all Liberians, gentlemen. Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians.